They told you to keep your blood pressure at 120/80, no higher, no exceptions. You believed it. Your doctor believed it. And yet for millions of older adults, that advice, repeated for decades, is quietly draining the very energy it was meant to protect. It happened to a retired teacher named Elaine Roberts, 73 years old, active, healthy, and proud of it. One morning she stood up from her chair and the room tilted. Her home monitor blinked red, 170/95. She panicked, called her doctor, and by afternoon she was on 2 new medications. A month later, the numbers looked perfect, 118/78. But Elaine didn't. She felt weak, dizzy, and too tired to finish her morning walks. Her heart wasn't failing. Her blood pressure wasn't too high. The real problem was that it had been pushed too low, all to match a number that wasn't designed for people her age. For over half a century, that single figure, 120/80, has been treated as gospel. But here's what most seniors were never told. That number was based on young adults in the 1950s, not people in their 70s or 80s. It came from early population averages, a statistical middle ground, not a medical truth. Somewhere along the way, average became ideal, and millions started chasing it like a finish line. But your body isn't a statistic. It's an ecosystem that adapts as you age. Arteries stiffen slightly, vessels narrow. The brain and kidneys, which depend on strong blood flow, begin to need a little more pressure to stay alert and nourished. That gentle rise isn't failure. It's intelligence, the body's natural way of keeping oxygen moving where it matters most. Research now backs this up. A large Japanese longevity study followed thousands of seniors for over a decade. Those with systolic pressures between 130 and 140 lived longer, had fewer dizzy spells, and reported higher daily energy than those forced down below 120. In simple terms, a little extra push keeps the system running smoothly. So why do so many seniors still feel pressured, literally and emotionally, to keep numbers as low as possible? Because fear sells faster than balance. For years, patients were warned that any reading above 120 meant danger, medication, or worse. That's how we created a generation terrified of their own heartbeat. But here's what the data and real-life experience reveal. The goal isn't low pressure, it's smart pressure. A healthy heart should rise when you walk and calm when you rest. That rhythm, that responsiveness, is the true sign of vitality. Static numbers on a machine can't capture that living dance. If your reading hovers around 130 or 135 and you feel alert, steady and strong, that's not failure. That's balance. The danger begins when we chase textbook perfection and suppress the body's natural rhythm with too much medication, too little salt, or chronic dehydration. That's when fatigue, dizziness, and brain fog start to appear, not from disease, but from overcorrection. Your blood pressure isn't the enemy, it's a messenger. When it rises gently with age, it's not betraying you, it's protecting you. So if you've been told that anything above 120/80 is a red flag, pause before you panic. Ask instead, how do I feel? Are my legs steady? Is my mind clear? Can I walk, laugh, and think without fatigue? Those are the real indicators of a healthy cardiovascular system, not one perfect number on a plastic screen. Next, we'll uncover what your blood pressure readings are actually measuring and why the real secret to longevity lies not in lowering your pressure, but in understanding the rhythm behind it. Because pressure isn't punishment. It's proof that your body is still working for you. Blood pressure isn't a number. It's a story. It tells you how hard your heart has to work to move life through your body. And like any story, it changes depending on the day, your mood, your hydration, your sleep, and your age. But somewhere along the way, we stopped listening to that story. We started fearing it. Think about it. Your heart beats more than 100,000 times a day. Each beat sends a surge of blood through vessels that bend, twist, and narrow slightly as the years pass. When those vessels were young, they stretched easily. Now they've grown a little stiffer, not broken, just seasoned. And to keep blood moving through them, your body does something remarkably intelligent. It raises the pressure slightly, the way you'd press a garden hose a little harder to keep water flowing through a smaller nozzle. That gentle rise, from say 120 to 135, isn't danger. It's adaptation. It's how your heart maintains the oxygen your brain and kidneys depend on. When we call that hypertension, we're only seeing half the picture. The other half is that your body is solving a problem you didn't even know existed. Here's the twist. When we force that pressure back down with heavy medication, before the body asks for it, we can actually starve the very organs we're trying to protect. You feel it as dizziness when you stand up, as blurred vision in the morning, as sudden fatigue after a meal. It's not aging, it's low flow. Too little oxygen reaching the brain, muscles and nerves. You haven't gotten old, you've simply lost the pressure your body needs to perform. This misunderstanding has quietly reshaped senior health for decades. Millions have been told that their high reading means their heart is failing, when in reality their heart is doing exactly what it should, pushing blood through tighter vessels to keep the brain awake. Your blood pressure fluctuates all day long. It rises when you climb stairs, when you talk, when you worry. It falls when you sleep, breathe deeply, or relax. This is the rhythm of survival. To fear every rise is to fear your body's design. The real danger isn't when your pressure moves, it's when it stops moving. A heart that never adjusts to effort or emotion has lost its flexibility. That's why doctors now focus less on one perfect reading and more on patterns, the dance of your pressure over time. So, let's rewrite what high and low truly mean. High pressure for a few minutes. Often a sign your body is compensating, pushing harder to meet demand. Consistently high pressure, especially above 150, yes, that's worth treatment and balance. Too low, below 110 or paired with dizziness. That's a warning sign of overcorrection. Your goal isn't to erase the highs, it's to maintain stability in between. A healthy heart should rise when you move, calm when you rest, and recover quickly after effort. That quick recovery, not the static number on a monitor, is what truly predicts longevity. Now here's the part few seniors are told. The brain relies more on blood flow than almost any other organ. Drop the pressure too far, and the brain is the first to pay. That's why overly aggressive treatment often leads to fogginess, confusion, or even small memory lapses. It's not dementia, it's deprivation. When the brain doesn't get enough oxygen, your world dulls, physically and mentally. And restoring that gentle push of blood is often enough to bring clarity, color, and confidence back. Blood pressure isn't about control, it's about communication. Your numbers are your body's language, telling you when to rest, hydrate, or move. But if you silence that language by chasing one perfect number, you cut off the conversation between your heart and your life. Now we'll expose the quiet trap that keeps so many seniors exhausted even when their numbers look great. The medication misstep, when good medicine becomes bad management. Because sometimes what's stealing your energy isn't the disease, it's the dose. If you've ever taken your morning blood pressure pill, looked at the numbers and thought, good, it's lower today, only to feel drained, foggy, or faint an hour later, you've met the hidden side of overcorrection. This is the quiet epidemic no one talks about. Seniors whose blood pressure looks perfect on paper, but whose lives no longer feel that way. It often begins innocently. A few high readings, a quick prescription, then, over time, a growing dependence on the number, not the feeling. Doctors adjust doses less often than they should. The medication that once stabilized you now holds you below balance. Imagine running a marathon with half a tank of oxygen. That's what your body does when your pressure is too low. The brain gets less blood, the legs receive less strength. The world starts to feel distant, not because of age, but because of lack of flow. Elaine, the retired teacher from earlier, learned this the hard way. Her morning dose was meant to protect her heart. Instead, it flattened her pulse, leaving her too dizzy to walk more than a block. Her doctor praised her for having great numbers, but numbers don't cook breakfast, climb stairs, or keep you steady when you stand. The aging body changes, but many prescriptions don't. As we grow older, everything shifts. Muscle mass, kidney function, hydration, even metabolism. But prescriptions rarely change with those shifts. The same dosage that worked at 60 may be far too strong at 75. Your arteries, once firm, become more sensitive. Your blood volume shrinks slightly from mild dehydration or diuretics. Suddenly, a medication designed to lower your pressure by 10 points is lowering it by 30. You stand up and the world spins. That's not your heart failing. That's your body begging for balance. And yet, millions of older adults mistake these symptoms for aging. Fatigue, blurred vision, foggy thinking, unsteady steps. When, in truth, they're living in what doctors call hypoperfusion, not enough blood reaching the organs. Medication should support, not replace, your regulation system. The goal of treatment isn't submission, it's partnership. Your body knows how to self-regulate. Medicine should simply guide it until strength returns. But when the medication becomes a command instead of a collaboration, you lose that natural rhythm. A Harvard cardiovascular study followed hundreds of seniors who combined daily walking, hydration, and magnesium-rich foods, leafy greens, nuts, beans, with supervised dose adjustments. After 6 months, nearly 4 in 10 safely reduced their medication without rebound spikes. Not by abandoning treatment, but by working with their physiology instead of suppressing it. This is why follow-ups matter more than prescriptions. Blood pressure treatment should never be set and forget. It's meant to evolve with you, just like your diet, movement, and rest. The subtle signs of overcorrection. If you've been treating high blood pressure for years, ask yourself, do you feel weaker after taking your pills? Do you get dizzy standing up or after bending down? Are your hands cold, your energy low, or your thoughts cloudy? If yes, your numbers may look perfect, but your circulation might not be. These are the quiet indicators that your dosage, timing, or even medication type might need review. This doesn't mean stopping, it means rebalancing. Your doctor's job isn't just to lower your pressure, but to make sure your brain and muscles are still getting the oxygen they deserve. Here's a truth that many physicians quietly agree on, but rarely say aloud. Chasing lower numbers has cost seniors more strength, independence, and clarity than mild hypertension ever did. Because what keeps you alive isn't a graph on a screen. It's blood reaching every cell that still wants to live. So if your numbers look ideal, but your days feel heavy, trust your symptoms more than your monitor. Ask for a review. Hydrate deeply. Walk gently. Nourish your body with minerals that restore balance. And remember, blood pressure management isn't about submission to a chart. It's about partnership with your body. Next, we'll tackle the most misunderstood culprit of all, salt, and how decades of fear about it have left seniors weaker, not healthier. Because the truth is, salt isn't the villain. The villain is imbalance. Meet James Porter, 80 years old, retired engineer, and proud of how clean his diet had become. No salt in the shaker, no seasoning in the soup, no trace of sodium in his pantry. He thought he was protecting his heart. Instead, he found himself lightheaded, exhausted, and unable to stand in the garden without feeling the ground tilt beneath him. His doctor adjusted his medication. Nothing changed. Then a younger cardiologist asked him a single question. How much salt do you use? James laughed. None. I cut that poison out years ago. The doctor smiled quietly. That might be your problem. Salt was never the enemy. Imbalance was the fear of salt came from studies in the 1970s that looked at people eating extreme amounts of sodium, the kind found in processed meats, canned soups and fast food. Those diets averaged 3 to 4 times the normal sodium intake. When researchers saw blood pressure spikes in those groups, salt took the blame. But what those studies never measured was the other side of the equation: potassium, magnesium, hydration, and mineral balance. Without that balance, yes, sodium can build pressure, but with it, in the context of real food, whole meals, and steady hydration, salt is not an enemy at all. It's an electrical necessity. Every heartbeat, every nerve impulse, every muscle contraction runs on the trade between sodium and potassium inside your cells. When that exchange falters, so does your circulation. Blood pressure swings wildly, energy crashes, dizziness replaces stability. And here's the irony: many seniors who removed salt entirely ended up with blood pressure that was too low, not too high. Their kidneys couldn't retain water, their blood volume dropped, and their heart had to work harder just to push what little blood remained. The science has shifted, quietly. In recent years, researchers at Kyoto University followed thousands of adults over 65. They discovered that those on ultra-low sodium diets actually had higher mortality rates than those who used moderate amounts of salt paired with potassium-rich foods. The reason? Their bodies couldn't maintain the electrical charge that keeps circulation stable. It turns out, seniors who season food modestly, especially with mineral-rich salts like sea salt or Himalayan, often have steadier blood pressure, fewer dizzy spells, and stronger energy levels. Because these natural salts carry not just sodium, but trace magnesium, calcium, and iodine, the very minerals most seniors are missing. The real rule of salt: it's not about elimination, it's about intelligent balance. Here's what doctors who study longevity now suggest. Use natural salt, not processed table salt, stripped of minerals. Hydrate throughout the day. Water helps sodium move, not stagnate. Eat potassium-rich foods, leafy greens, beans, bananas, and avocados. Avoid hidden sodium in packaged foods, where salt is paired with sugar and preservatives. This balance supports healthy vascular tone, the flexibility in your arteries that keeps blood flowing smoothly. And that flexibility, not just low numbers, is what prevents heart strain and fatigue. When salt returns, so does energy. When James added back a pinch of mineral salt, less than a quarter teaspoon a day, the difference was visible within a week. His pressure stabilized at 132/84. His dizziness disappeared. He could walk his garden again without fear of falling. He didn't need perfection. He needed electrolyte harmony, the quiet cooperation between sodium, potassium, and water that keeps every heartbeat steady. Salt isn't flavor, it's function. Remove it completely, and your energy dissolves with it. Use it wisely, and you rebuild the electrical rhythm that powers your independence. And finally, we'll bring it all together. The truth about balance, not numbers. Because the ultimate goal isn't controlling pressure, it's restoring flow, the flow of blood, of energy, of confidence. And when you learn to read your numbers as a conversation, not a command, that's when you stop surviving and start living fully again. After decades of numbers, pills, and warnings, most seniors have been trained to see blood pressure as a verdict. High means danger, low means safety. But the truth, as every long-lived heart eventually teaches, is more subtle and far more hopeful. Blood pressure isn't a sentence, it's a conversation. And like any good conversation, it takes listening to understand what the body is really trying to say. First, what the numbers are really telling you. When your reading creeps higher, your body may be whispering, "I'm dehydrated, I'm stressed, I need minerals, movement, or sleep." When it drops too low, it may be asking, "Where did my salt go? Why am I over-medicated? Why am I skipping meals or water?" Or, these are messages, not malfunctions. When you treat them as feedback, not failure, you start working with your body, not against it. That's when real health begins to return. Second, The four anchors of smart pressure longevity research from Harvard, Tokyo University, and the American Heart Association all point to the same core principles for seniors who want energy, clarity, and stable circulation, without fear. 1. Hydration. Older adults often drink less because their thirst signal weakens with age, yet water is what blood is made of. Drink slowly throughout the day, not all at once. Add a pinch of mineral salt to 1 glass daily to help the body retain it. 2. Movement. Pressure isn't the enemy, stagnation is. Even light walking, chair stretches, or slow leg raises retrain the arteries to expand and contract again. Movement restores elasticity that medication alone never can. 3. Minerals. Magnesium, potassium, and sodium aren't buzzwords. They're the conductors of your cardiovascular orchestra. Magnesium calms vessel walls. Potassium balances sodium. Sodium sustains volume. Together they keep blood moving, not straining. 4. Calm. Stress hormones, especially cortisol, are among the most powerful pressure raisers known. Yet calm isn't a luxury. It's medicine. A few minutes of slow breathing, music, or even gratitude can drop systolic pressure by measurable points. Your body listens when your mind speaks softly. 3. Letting go of the fear. Many seniors live with an invisible tension, afraid of every rise, every new reading, every beep from that little cuff on the counter. But when you live in fear of your numbers, your nervous system stays locked in fight or flight. That very fear tightens your vessels, raises your pulse, and feeds the problem you're trying to solve. So here's a quiet reframe. The next time you measure your blood pressure, don't stare at the screen. Breathe first, check second, then ask, does this reading match how I feel? If it doesn't, if you feel clear, steady and well, then the number may not be a warning at all. It may simply be your body's rhythm finding its balance. 4. The art of reversal. The word chronic frightens people because it sounds permanent, but chronic simply means it's been here for a while, and the body, at every age, can still adapt, repair, and rebalance. Studies show that in just 8 weeks of consistent hydration, evening relaxation, and 20 minutes of daily walking, seniors can reduce systolic pressure by up to 15 points without any change in medication. That's not luck. That's physiology reclaiming its freedom. The arteries you think have stiffened with age are actually capable of softening again when stress falls and flow returns. Your body remembers balance, you just have to remind it. 5. From monitoring to mastery. You don't need to chase perfection to live well, you need partnership. So take your numbers as you would a friend's advice, useful but never absolute. If your pressure runs a little higher, yet you feel strong and clear, trust that stability. If your numbers look ideal but you're exhausted, that's not success. That's imbalance. Listen to your pulse, not your fear, because every heartbeat is a message that you're still adaptable, still responsive, still alive. Your independence doesn't depend on lowering your numbers, it depends on understanding them. When you feed your body water, minerals, calm and gentle motion, pressure stops being your enemy. It becomes your rhythm, steady, human, alive. And that rhythm is what keeps you walking, thinking, laughing and living on your own terms. If you believe knowledge can save lives, share this video with someone you care for and subscribe to stay informed with the latest senior health insights.